Do I need to eat differently around exercise? Now, this is a question that I get asked an awful lot, and it is a really valid question because we're constantly bombarded with workout nutrition ideas or products. So, whether it's post workout shakes or pre workout drinks or electrolytes or any number of other pills, potions, and foods designed to use around exercise. And along with that comes a lot of extrapolated ideas as to, well, if I need this pre workout, then if I can't get it, what should I eat instead? And I need to eat differently in order to replace that. Now, the simple truth is that unless you're exercising quite vigorously at high intensity for over an hour every day, you probably don't need to fuel yourself much differently around your exercise than you are already. Because we as humans are a lot more sedentary than our ancestors, it's easy to think that any amount of exercise that we do beyond sitting on the couch might require special fueling. But the fact is that our bodies are designed to easily handle a whole lot more regular daily activity than the majority of the population give them. Our bodies are designed to be out running, hunting, and most of the time we're not doing that level of activity. However, when we start to do that level of activity, we think we need something more, and that's just not necessarily the case. The idea that we need to fuel differently around all exercise can actually breed huge misconceptions and can do more harm than good, because what we're doing is we're changing the way that we're eating with the wrong idea in mind, which can sabotage the effects of the exercise that we're actually going out to do. So the first most important part is the idea of overestimating calorie burn. So once again, when we reduce exercise to a simple calorie in, calorie out equation, which I really hope you'll understand by now is an absolute travesty. If not, then please read back the previous lessons. I talk about this a lot in this particular habit. So when we reduce exercise to this calorie in, calorie out equation, it's really easy to think that the numbers can't lie and that the calories that our smartwatches or our Fitbits say that we burned is completely accurate, and that therefore we can afford to eat that much extra without consequences, or we need to eat that much more in order to fuel our body correctly. The truth is, there is no real way to accurately measure calorie burn in each individual short of sitting you in an oxygen chamber and measuring the exact amount of oxygen you consume during certain activities. It's very difficult, it's very expensive, and it's completely unattainable for most people. So we rely on smartwatches, devices, Fitbits, calculations that are at best a loosely educated guess. Often these are based on heart rate alone, and they are often grossly overestimated. Now, in the lesson, I have a wonderful infographic showing you just how inaccurate calorie burn calculations can be. So scroll down into the text if you're watching this video and click on the link and have a look at that. It can show you the percentages that each activity or each method can be out, and therefore show you the wide range of margin of error. So therefore, when thinking in calories only, we often think we've earned a lot more food than we actually have. And this is also why I don't like encouraging this exercise for food mentality, and that one is purely a trade-off for the other, because we purely then use activity as a way to earn food or burn off food. And as I say, it is so much more than that, as I have illustrated throughout the last few lessons. So the question remains, what should you eat? In general, as I mentioned, unless you're exercising at a very high intensity for over an hour every day, then a generally healthy, well-rounded, whole food diet like the one you're working on right inside this program is more than sufficient to fuel your activity. What you eat immediately before and after your meal doesn't have as much influence on your performance or on your results as you might think. It's the 90% of the time that really matters. If you are doing a particularly grueling workout or a longer session, like a half marathon or a marathon or some other specific events, you may need to consider some slightly adapted guidelines for your training and recovery. If this is you, then please get in touch so we can devise a tailored plan for your needs around your event and around your other symptoms and the foods that you're currently eating in your training schedule. It is highly individualized, and we shouldn't be making blanket statements when it comes to food around exercise. Each activity is very individual. So whether you're doing a sprint race, whether you're doing a marathon, whether you're doing a weightlifting competition, what you fuel will be entirely different for each of those. So there is no blanket statement when it comes to what to eat around your exercise. Should I work out fasted? This is another question that I get a lot, and many people say that you should never work out fasted, that it's bad for your metabolism, you need to give your body fuel before you start working out. However, this is not entirely true. As I mentioned, our bodies are used to a certain level of activity that we don't necessarily give them in modern times. They are more than capable and more than adaptable of going out and working hard even when they haven't had any food in the last hour, 2 hours, 12 hours, etc. If you think about our ancestors in the hunter-gatherer phase, they were often having to go out hunting and use brain power and use physical power and physical strength in order to hunt and kill when they had been without food for long stretches. So our bodies are designed to be able to work, to be able to function well without food. Otherwise, we would never have survived. We did not have food at our fingertips like we do these days. We had to go out and hunt, and our bodies are designed to do that. So you absolutely can work out fasted. And some people absolutely prefer it over eating before a workout. But there is a big, big but here. I would only do this carefully and under personalized guidance, as it is highly individual and again depends on the type of activity you're doing, depends on your specific situation. If you have blood sugar issues, if you have diabetes, if you have insulin resistance, you may find this more difficult. It's not that you cannot do it. There just are considerations that we need to take into account before we devise this plan for you. And you should follow a process. We shouldn't ever go from stark one thing to the next. So suddenly working out after not eating for 24 hours or 12 hours even might cause your body to not be able to sort of deal with that so well. You might find your blood sugar drops. People can faint, they can pass out. It is not something that you should play around with without having a proper process to follow and without being really cautious and having some backup measures in place. So I highly recommend that you only do this under the guidance of a practitioner like myself. If you wish to experiment with working out fasted, then let me know and we can incorporate that into part of your program here, and I can give you some ideas as to how to start doing that, to experiment and to see whether it works for you and whether it doesn't. I want to stress that it is not something to be afraid of, absolutely not. And fasting in general is not something to be afraid of. And it is something that I do regularly, fasting and working out fasted. But it just needs to be approached in the correct way and in a safe way, especially if you are new to it. So in summary, guys, you most likely do not need to eat differently around exercise. Most of the time, eating a perfectly balanced, whole food, nutritious diet across the course of your day will give you more than enough of what you need in order to perform and recover well. If you are going to yoga, if you are doing gym sessions, if you are playing sports, if you are doing anything beyond that, if you're working out at much higher intensities, perhaps long cycles, long runs, really high intensity workouts for about an hour or more every day, then you may need to consider some changes, and that is highly individual, and let's chat and let's devise that for you personally. All right, guys, let me know if you've got any questions about food around exercise or working out fasted, and I can help you out individually.